and welcome back to UIWtv. Election Day is finally here and we're bringing you a special newscast. I'm Janelle DeJesus.
And I'm Matthew Faltish. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Earlier in the semester, we talked about casting your votes in our earlier newscast, but now voting season is officially coming to a close tonight. Janelle, did you vote early or are you voting today?
Last Sunday, I actually had the opportunity to go back to my hometown, Castroville, and cast my vote then.
That's awesome. I did the same the first day of early voting. I went with my mom. It was a very big thing. I went really early. I was actually the first person that is a first-time voter at that specific station, and they were all excited, so it was a really special moment. And we're going to be taking a look at the election day here in the community and on campus, and we're actually going to be starting with the stats of early voting. Now, early voting has gotten off to a strong start in Texas. More than 8 million votes have already been cast, representing a statewide turnout of 43.79%. Additionally, over 300,000 mail-in ballots have already been requested. Of Texas's 254 counties, Harris County leads with 1.1 million votes, followed by Tarrant County with 600,000, and Dallas, Bexar, and Travis County each reported more than 400,000 votes equally. 5 counties have surpassed a 60% voter turnout so far, with King County leading with 61%, or 0.21%, followed by Kendall County with 60.94%. In Travis County, polling stations have noticed an influx of younger voters with ages ranging from 18 to 25 in registration. Now, for more information on Texas voting coverage and voter turnout, you can head to results.texas-election.com.
Early voting took place October 21st to November 1st, and Bexar County saw record-breaking numbers this year. Just for the first day, early voter turnout increased by 41% since the 2020 election. 46,829 votes were recorded on the first day for this election. The Bexar County Elections Department also recorded a total of 574,920 votes as of November 1st. This includes overall early votes from across the 51 polling stations in Bexar County. If you haven't voted yet, make sure to do so by 7 p.m. today at a polling station near you. But whether you've already voted or not, election season is a time to make sure your voices are heard. UIWtv reporter Case Victoria talked to students to see what they have to say about this year's election. What do you have for us, Case?
Thank you very much. For UIWtv, I'm Case Victoria, and I'm here with special guest
Carly.
And Carly, can I ask you, what 3 topics are you looking for in this election?
I'm looking to uphold democracy, respect women's rights, and progress forward.
For sure, the border. I think that would be the number 1, and then also, well, actually, that'd be number 2. The first one be the economy, and then the third one would probably be to just try to ensure we bring all the parties back together.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first off, I think most importantly, I think unity. I think this country is really divided. I think we need to be able to find common ground and be able to move forward with that. Secondly is inflation. I feel like the economy it's tough right now. Kids like me, well, young adults like me, here on this campus, we're looking for a future. We're looking for stability, and it's really hard to look at that right now, especially in this economy. Being able to afford the basic necessities. People who are really struggling, they're going to wonder about those things. And third is probably the immigration policy. I understand both sides of the argument. We want people to come into the country legally. However, I think we need to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. Why are they leaving their home country? They don't want to. However, because of the situation that they're in, because, whether it's drug wars or just, being persecuted for their religion, we need to take those things into consideration. And so I think we should, that's something that should be discussed this election for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Case. It's important for students to get out there and vote. Together, we can make a big difference for the future of our country.
Now, UIWtv conducted another 2024 election poll to see how students are exercising their right to vote. As of this morning, we've collected 40 responses, and here are the results of that poll. When we asked if you've registered to vote, 100% said yes and 0% said no. Now, when we asked if you've already voted in this election, 74% said yes and 26% said no. However, 85% said that they do plan on voting in this election, 5% said that they do not, and 10% said that they may vote. Then we asked who you are voting for, president and vice president. 74% said Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the Democratic nominees. 15% said Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the Republican nominees, and 0% for Chase Oliver and Mike Murtad, the Libertarian nominees. Jill Stein and Butch Ware, the Green Party nominees, and Cornel West and Melinda Abdul, the Independent candidates. And 10% said some other candidate that was not on our list. Now, when we asked who you would be voting for in the U.S. Senate race here for Texas, 82% went for Colin Allred, the Democratic candidate. 8% went for the incumbent Ted Cruz, who is a Republican candidate, and 10% went for another candidate. Now, lastly, we asked which are the three most important issues to them as voters. Now, overall, the top three issues were abortion, civil rights, and the economy. Abortion overall becoming the biggest issue for many students here. Now, this poll was taken from October 28th until today. Most of the respondents were undergrad students aged 18 through 21. We would like to thank all of those who participated in the poll, and that is all of the updates that we have now.
But don't go anywhere just yet. After the break, we will hear from a political analyst about the election. Let's get to it.
Matt and Leland are out at the arcade. Maybe we should go join them.
Sure.
Let's go.
Okay. Adam, put your hands back on the wheel.
Oh, like this?
No!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually on the wheel.
I'm sorry.
Should you be smoking while driving?
Yeah, they've been doing it since the 60s. It's 1985.
I don't think that's safe. Adam, the road!
Distracted driving. It's always been a problem, even in the 80s. For more information on distracted driving, visit www.nhtsa.gov.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
You are watching UIWtv.
Hello and welcome back to UIWTV's Election Day Special. I'm Janelle DeJesus and I'm here with political science professor Dr. Brandon Matroka. Thank you so much for being here today. Are you ready to discuss the election?
I am. I'm ready for it to be over.
Definitely me as well. So getting right into it, what makes this election so important in the current political climate that we have going on?
I think every election is extremely important. I think what's marked about this year is that the two candidates at the presidential level have presented visions that are vastly different, and they'll have real consequences for everyday people.
So this is my first presidential election that I'm actually voting in. I have voted before in other elections, but this being the first one, I've noticed a surplus in TikToks and Instagram Reels and kind of a push towards really, young voters who are on social media. So why is it important for youth to be involved?
I think like anything else, it becomes an ethic. If you get started early, put effort into it, it just becomes part of your routine. I think it's really important for members of every generation to be part of Republican democracy and to just take control of the world. This is an opportunity for you to assert how you wish our democracy to function.
And for the people who necessarily don't vote because they aren't into it or aren't educated on voting and politics in general, what advice do you recommend to them to get into it and be educated.
A few weeks ago, one of the vice presidential candidates, Tim Walz, pointed out that even if you're not into politics, politics is definitely into you. And so I think it's helpful to think about it that way. If you're looking for sources that might be helpful, one that occurs is the League of Women Voters have a nonpartisan voting guide that you might consult.
So since the 2020 election, we've seen a huge change in a lot of policies going on, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, immigration issues, high inflation. What other key issues should voters be aware about and also just be interested in?
I think poll after poll on salient issues has indicated for voters across all different demographics, economic issues tend to be ranked quite highly, along with reproductive rights, including abortion. Other issues include national security and terrorism, immigration, and then if you look among particularly younger voters, climate change and gun control often shows up as important issues as well.
And whether you're voting for former President Trump, current VP Kamala Harris, or a third-party candidate, what do you have to say to voters who are facing tension or maybe pressure to vote a certain way by their households?
That's unfortunate. The right to vote or the duty to vote, it's an important one, it's a personal one, it's a private one. I think most people, if not all people, come to their political views honestly, through experience, through socialization. So I think it would be helpful to our polity if there were less villainizing or less questioning of that deeply personal choice that other people are making with their ballot.
And finally, any advice for any voters who aren't utilizing their civil duty? Like, what would you tell them, after this live stream, go vote? What do you have to say to them?
I like that you phrased it as a duty or an obligation. We conceive of it as a right, and sure, you can go vote if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's a political statement as well. I would encourage you to think of it not just as an individual choice, but also being part of a collective. This is the expression, the lifeblood of a democratic republic. And if everyone just kind of sat home, stayed home, it would be an inert citizenry. We couldn't have democracy. So I think that's a good reason, as good a reason as any to think about whenever considering why it's important to vote.
Thank you, Dr. Matroka. I couldn't have worded any of that better myself.
Thank you so much.
Of course, and we both are encouraging you guys to go get out into the polls after this newscast today. So UIW actually does offer rides to students who need transportation for Election Day. You can sign up through that on their Give Pulse or follow UIW Cardinals on Instagram. It is linked in their bio right now. Stay tuned. After the break, we will have more information about the current polls and also UIW's transportation. Thank you again, Dr. Matroka. Please, guys, if you're watching, go vote.
Trying to call you and stuff. But
oh, it's okay. I really just want to spend it with my family.
No, that's understandable. But hey, so I was wondering if you were still interested in going to go see the Stephen King It movie when it comes out.
Why are we always going around in circles with this issue?
What do you mean?
Give your eyes a break. Reduce screen time.
Not every killer has the face of one. Not every killer makes its presence known. Sometimes it walks in the shadows, disguised in the smoking mirrors, hiding, waiting till you're too blind to notice it following behind you. That's when it latches on. When you're so attached to the numb feeling you've conditioned yourself to accept that you can't live life without it. So that in the end, it isn't the killer.
Welcome back to our Election Day special. Now, we do want to tell you some things you should know if you have not already gone out to the polls. We just want to give you a little bit of update of what you should be bringing. Now, remember, you do need to bring your state ID with you. It could also be a passport card like this. You do not need your voter registration card at all, but you do need to remember to keep your phone silent and do not take it out within 100 feet of a polling station. Finally, you do need to remember to not wear anything representing any candidate. It can be seen as a form of intimidation. Now, to get some of this, our live reporter Marilio Cruz is out at a polling site, specifically the Bexar County Elections Department polling site, to tell us how Election Day is looking in the community. What do you have for us, Leo?
Good morning. I'm Marilio Cruz reporting to you live for UIWtv. Today we're located out at the San Antonio election headquarters, located just a short 5-minute drive away from campus. Now, if you're planning to come out here later today, just remember that it's located at the corner of South Frio and Veracruz. Now, voting officially began here this morning at 7 a.m., and we have personally only been out here for just under an hour now. But in that time, we've managed to see a steady flow of voters coming in and out of the building, as well as a gradual stream of cars coming up and down the street, both indicating a strong and steady voter turnout so far. Now, while the weather today hasn't been the most favorable, especially when compared to some of the more mild conditions earlier in the week, the conditions have not deterred voters who managed to stay patiently waiting in line, waiting to let their voices be heard. Now, if you are unable to make it out to this particular location, then don't worry, because San Antonio has made sure to provide a multitude of other voting options. For example, if you're on campus right now, some of the more better options would be to go to Terrell Hills and Alamo Heights City Halls, as well as the Lions Field Adult and Senior Center. Now, wherever you're choosing to vote from, just remember that all polling and voting sites will be closing at 7 p.m. today. Now, that's all about everything we've got to say so far, but just make sure to keep voting, and back to y'all in the studio at UIWtv. I'm Marilio Cruz.
Thank you so much, Leo. Now, if you do not have a ride to get to any of these polling stations, Janelle did bring up earlier in the broadcast about the Etling Center providing free transportation to and from nearby polling stations. Now, according to the Etling Center, over 75% of students, faculty, and staff who have previously used this program are first-time voters, and the goal is to promote civil engagement in the UIW community. The rides will be running from until 3 p.m. today, so please go sign up as soon as you can to get a spot at uiw.edu/ECCL.
Now, if you are a student who lives off campus, there are plenty of promotions to help you get a ride to the polls too. Both Lyft and Uber are offering 50% off Election Day rides to the polls. For Lyft, use the code VOTE24 in the app, and for Uber, press the Go Vote option in the app. For more information, visit lyft.com or uber.com. And that's all for our Election Day special. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for voting.
Join us again for our last newscast of the semester, which will be on November 21st. And please, as Janelle has said, make sure to cast your vote by 7 p.m. tonight. This election is very important, not just in our state, but in so many others. For UIWtv, I am Matthew Falatich.
And I am Janelle DeJesus, and this has been the UIWtv News Special.